Hello, I am Victoria Aviles, and I have the greatest pleasure of introducing one of my dearest friends, Angelica. We met during transition camp where we bonded and always ate maple brown sugar granola bars because they were always bussin'. If you were to ask her, she would tell you the exact fit I wore when we first met, and that is why she is so amazing. She remembers the little details that add meaning to recuerdos. She is the one person that will go days without talking, but is able to pick up right where she left off. And I have something to tell her. So if you're not her, look away, cover your ears, turn around. Now that it's only you, I am very proud of you. How strong of a person you have grown to be. Thank you for guiding me and being my role model. And thank you for being weird with me. When I say it was a judgment free zone, sheesh! It really was. I am very grateful to have experienced my childhood with you. And so, without further ado, here is Angelica Monrreal.
Hi, as Victoria mentioned, my name's Angelica Monrreal. I'm not going to lie, the first time I tried writing this speech, I had no idea what I wanted it to be about, but one night I forced myself to sit at my desk and just start writing whatever came to mind, which is how the following came to be. Growing up, my parents have always valued getting a higher education, and in order to do so, you would need to work hard. During their childhood, they were migrants, meaning each year they would go off to different states and work 14-hour days out in the field during the scorching hot summers, and they would pick fruits and vegetables. They didn't want my brother and I to have to go through what they did in order to simply have food on the table and have a roof over their heads. My brother knew how much getting a higher education was important for my parents, and so he would spend countless of hours studying, and he would pull multiple all-nighters, which in the end paid off for him. He graduated from UT Austin with a computer science bachelor's degree and is currently a successful computer science engineer. My brother is someone that I can say that I greatly admire and look up to, and so seeing him achieve his goals and dreams made me want to work just as hard in order to achieve mine. Although each step that I took, anytime that I turned a corner, there was one of my family members emphasizing how important it was to get a higher education in order to get ahead, which is exactly what I ended up doing. I volunteered at a nonprofit organization called Latinitas every summer during their summer camp for 6 years in a row. I was a part of many extracurricular activities while maintaining my grades at school, and right as I turned 16, I got a part-time job. Whether it was staying after school in order to do band practice or waking up at 5:30 in the morning to be at basketball practice by 6:30, I was constantly on the move and always on my feet. Although I realized that I wasn't allowing myself to go through or process any emotions tied to negative events that were occurring to me at that time, which partially left me emotionally out of touch with myself. It wasn't until last semester that I realized how unnecessarily busy I was keeping myself. This year, when it was close to finals and the holidays, we were extremely busy at work because the holidays were right around the corner. And I accidentally ended up working overtime some weeks, but during finals week, I ended up working full-time. And I know I asked myself the same thing: how did you accidentally work that many hours? It just does not add up. First off, I did not keep track of my hours because I simply wanted to just pick up shift after shift and go in as much as I could. And second off, my dad had been struggling financially at that time, and I didn't want my brother to feel pressured to take on all the financial responsibilities, so I wanted to put in as many hours as I could to help loosen the pressure on both of their shoulders. I will admit, though, that it probably was not the best idea to do that during finals week, as it did add a lot of pressure on my shoulders. But even throughout the holidays, when I told myself I would take a break after working that much and overloading myself with that much work, I continued to work full-time and some weeks overtime up until the second semester of my senior year started. The mentality of working hard and putting in everything that I could offer was basically how I lived, and to an extent it wasn't a bad thing until I was constantly draining myself. Although I came to this conclusion multiple times, it wasn't up until January when my dad ended up falling ill and had to be hospitalized for a while that I actually did anything about it. Throughout the next month following his hospitalization, I threw myself into school and work as much as I could. I was using the busy schedule that I created for myself to ignore what was happening around me. During the time that my dad had been hospitalized and I was dealing with some other personal struggles, one day I decided to drop everything and go on a day trip to the beach with one of my friends. We hadn't previously planned any of it, and I will say it was a very random trip, but that day was the first time in a very long time that I actually let myself stop and live. I wasn't worrying about school or even about what time I had to go to work the next day and dreading it. I let myself breathe, and as cheesy and cringy as it may sound, I was living in the moment for once. I was with one of my best friends in one of the most beautiful and personally relaxing places. To tie up this whole speech, it's okay to stop and take a break and let yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally be in the moment with where you're at in time. Pressure from family and the outside world can be extremely overwhelming, but you don't always need to work the hardest nonstop or have a strong front all the time to be considered successful. Thank you.